I got a story for you today. A generator and how they get so frustrated and how it spills over into so many other things in their life. This is going to be a real look at something that's raw and it's happened in the last less than 24 hours. And so this is something that happened to me yesterday. And I have been reflecting on it since. And I wasn't out of it. As you know, generators, we wait to respond, right? And I was pushing yesterday. And so I created from the pushing more frustration in my life. So this is what this is going to be about if you want a real look at how this stuff shows up. So taking what is in human design and how it shows up in real life and how you can spot it, what that experience might be, and maybe what you can do with it too. So maybe it'll resonate with you. Hi, I am Trisha Edwards and I am a generator. I am a 6'2" profile and I have emotional authority. The other thing about me is I have a lot of 3-line activations, actually more 3-line activations than anything else in my chart. And I totally identify with a 3-line as well. And so you get a little bit of overview. Generators, we follow our passion. We let our satisfaction be our guide. And frustration becomes when we bump into things to help us like, oh, something's not quite right. Let's adjust. So it's our bumps. So we know maybe I'm a little too close to the edge. Let me see if I can recenter myself. And for a 6'2", the 6 line, we see the patterns overhead, right? You're a little bit more separated. You may have lived it, but now you're coming above and you're seeing it from above. And a 2 line, it often gets talked about as the hermit and the person who goes into their own little world and they emerge when they feel the time is right and when they have something to say. And they often don't even see their own talent because they're too busy in that cycle, in that process. So they often need to be called out. And the 3rd line, these all kind of will tie into the story here. The 3rd line is often described as trial and error, the person who, tinkers a lot. And I don't really like those. Those don't really resonate with me. But the thing that does resonate with me, and this is how I was actually talking about, this is my vibe before I even started learning human design. And I have this expression that I use, experiment to experience. And it's about the experience. It has nothing to do with the goals or the end results or anything at all. It's you create the experiment so you can just experience it. And to me, that is totally 3-line. And that's what we're in. We're in my experiment so I can experience and maybe you can experience along with me or be a witness, whatever works for you. So this is going to be mostly about, it is all about the experience. So my 3-line is present here. And also my 6-line, because I'm seeing these patterns. They're happening and I'm seeing them from a higher level. I'm able to observe myself in ways that I couldn't 10 years ago. I didn't have the skill sets. I didn't have the knowledge to. And maybe it's because my 6th line, I'm 54 now, that my 6th line hadn't quite made it to its final layer of being the one who can see overhead. I don't know. Anyway, here I am. And this is also about the 2 line, because the 2 line also likes to see things that are pretty, that are nice looking, or visually stimulating. That might be a better way of saying it, because we all have different things visually that appeal to us. Somebody might be more interested in something that looks like pop art, right? Somebody might be more interested in something that looks like, a cover of a book for a romantic love story. Somebody might like something more abstract and artistic looking. And somebody might something that's plain and streamlined and simple, neat and tidy. And I like all of those things. It's not about a particular way a design is and what speaks to me. It's just that certain things speak to me. And I always think about this as a different language than our communication. It's different than our logic. I am so the person that when I walk in a bookstore, if a cover speaks to me, I totally judge a book by its cover, by the way. If it's really something that doesn't appeal to me, I don't open it. But I have been known to find a book and oh my gosh, there's a couple that are off the top of my head that I was just like, oh, this is mine. I have to have it. I buy it. I don't even look at what the price is. I don't even open it. I just know this happened. And one time this happened to me in a bookstore. And I think it was the Rick Rubin book, the creative one that he came out with a couple years ago. Maybe it was a year ago. And I didn't even realize it until I got up to the counter to pay. I had picked the book up. And then I was like, oh, I have a vague memory of passing the table that had this book on it. And I guess I just picked it up without even consciously thinking about it. And I tucked it in. And then there it was. I was paying for it. And I got to tell you, I freaking love the book. It was such a juicy cover. Oh, such a good one. But anyway, it doesn't mean that that is the only thing I use to judge, but it's my starting point. And you might have noticed where some people might say, ooh, this speaks my language. And the thing is not speaking, but it is. Or it might be, this has my name all over it. You know, oh, I feel like this should be mine. Those common phrases, that's what it's like when you are two and just aesthetically something just speaks to you and you got to have it. So as what I've been doing, so I shared this yesterday in YouTube. I've been working on this inner studio invitation, and what I shared was my process of what I'm doing. Like here I am, I'm doing it all. This whole thing is a giant experiment, and I call it a colander. It's not a funnel because I don't believe in funnels can work. Let's see. Let me rephrase that. Sometimes I trip over my words and I get going and it's not exactly what I mean, but the funnel is not for me. That concept doesn't work for me. So I had to rephrase this, and you can go back and watch yesterday's video on it. So what was I doing yesterday? Made that video. I was feeling really vibing. I'm so connected with all of the things here. And so I'm making my landing page, which is the invitation to join. And I thought, you know what? Maybe I'll do it on Notion. That's what I'll do. You know, keep it really simple. And you can see how far I got. Like I made a video that talks about it. I even typed up a transcript, took out all my ums and ands and all the extra nonsense words out of it. And then I even have this quiz, if you're curious as to not whether, how we might work together, if this might be for you. And I've been working on this for months and really bringing it all together. I feel like it's ready to be all together. I have all the parts. I have all the components. I feel really good about every single one of these components. And I freaking hate this landing page. And I went on this whole thing. I even, which I'll share with you here in a little bit, I wrote a whole story about it today because this is my process where I am noticing these things and then I come back and I write a story, and it really, I'm going to share it with you, but the story is for me to help me to see me. And, this is just my process. So I've taken the skills that I have developed for writing LinkedIn posts, and I use them not only for writing. I still write LinkedIn posts nearly Monday through Friday generally is when I post. You can check me out if you want to follow along. But I write those, and then I have a whole nother thing that I write for myself. And so I write posts. As a matter of fact, if I skip back over here to this calendar, so not only this is all, I don't need to explain this to anybody else. I just need to feel good with it in myself. But I write this to myself. This is what I do. And I have, look at all these things. These are all these things, even why I think this is going to fail. I wrote a whole thing to myself on here, why I think it's going to fail. This is what I do. I write to myself as if I'm a target audience. And so that's what you have here. And so I was working on it. And, that 2-line, we just have to have that alignment in something that feels good. And nobody else has to think that it's a beautiful page or well-designed page. We have to. We have to start with that. Because here's the thing. I could just say, you know what? This thing right here, it is good enough. And is it good enough? It's got everything you need on it. It's totally good enough. There's nothing wrong with it. It is good enough. I know that it is. But then I didn't like the way it looked. I didn't like how, like the restrictions, the confinement, the constraints, maybe that's the right word, that I had with working in Notion to get it to where I want it to go. And then I was like, oh my goodness. Okay. Well, the inner studio is going to live on my Mighty Networks. So why don't I put it here? And I started working on this landing page, and then, figuring out, I can't tell you how many versions of this. There was a bunch of versions of this, and how I wanted to fit everything in here. And then I wanted to embed the quiz that I put, and I couldn't get that in there. It's like, do I really need the quiz? Maybe I need to let it go. And I'm going back and forth, and I knew none of this was working out. I spent 3 hours in this, tinkering this and that and trying different things. And then I was like, maybe, you know what? Maybe I'll take off this page. This is my website. This is a homepage. Maybe I'll just change it and it'll just be this. And then I was like, but then they got to come to this page, and then they got to go to this thing. And I was like, cutting down on the steps. And oh my gosh, it was not working. And I kept thinking, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to figure it out, and I'm going to force it. I didn't say I was going to force it, but that's what I was doing. That's a no for a generator. We don't need to force it. I wasn't looking for where I was feeling satisfied. All I was doing was trying to lean in to where the frustration was. And I wanted to solve the frustration. And as I look at this page right here, it's almost as if, this is like therapy for me right now, because this is not planned. I'm just off the cuff, and I'm just sharing with you. And right here, this is like a nice reminder to me. Trust in motion. And that's not what was happening yesterday. I was getting frustrated. And how did it show up? How did I know that frustration didn't end when I closed my laptop? Because at some point I was just like, you know what? Dinner's ready. My husband's prepared a meal. I'm going to close this out. And you know what? I'll come to it tomorrow. And maybe the answers will come to me. Maybe they won't. And you know what? Maybe I don't announce it this week. Maybe I don't open the doors this week. Maybe it's next week. It's okay. There's some tech stuff to figure out. It's not a big deal, right? I've been working on it for how long now? It's okay. Let me slow down. And I felt like I was in a really great place. But here's what happened. I had extra helpings. I got a little snippy with my husband on something. It was carrying over. More things were happening. And I didn't feel confident about. I started questioning, maybe this isn't the right path for me. And this is all because I was forcing it. And so I want to share the story that I wrote about it to give a little bit of insight here. The generator's frustration. The generator's frustration, a portal story. This is the story of a generator, someone who doesn't chase ideas but responds to life with energy that says yes. A generator with a 2-line eye for beauty, a need for resonance, and emotional authority that asks for patience. And yet sometimes the wave pulls us in before the response arrives. It began with a simple desire to create a landing page that felt alive, that looked like and sounded like truth, that said, this is me. But nothing was clicking. The platforms felt limited. The aesthetics felt flat. The frustration so familiar, it began to rise. In that moment, I forgot the rhythm. I sat in frustration, pushing forward, exploring platforms, trying tweaks, chasing perfection, overriding every whisper of not yet. Instead of waiting for my sacral yes, I forced one. Because in the past, that's how I'd survive. Deadlines, deliverables, doing. But this wasn't just design. This was devotion. It was identity. And it was off. I knew it in the signs. The shortness in my tone, the extra helping at dinner, the unnecessary purchase of a program I already said no to. Oh, I forgot to tell you that. So there's this program, and it's something to do with human design. And I was eyeing it last week, a couple weeks ago. And I keep going back to it. And I was one of those things that I was like, oh, I wonder every day, like, am I going to get my emotional yes or no? And I got a no. And it wasn't like a no that you can't. It was more of a no, it's not needed. You don't need it. Even though it wasn't very much money. I think it was $44. It literally wasn't that much. But it was, no, you don't need this. You can have it. If you really want it, you can, but it's just not needed. And I bought it last night before I went to bed. And after I bought it, I was just like, oh, now I see everything that's been happening. And then I felt, I won't say guilty, but there was this little bit of unease about it. And so this morning I've been thinking about it, and I talked about it on my walk, and that's where this whole thing has come about. I was like, this is what I'm writing about. Oh, there it is. By the way, the program is actually pretty cool, pretty good, but it wasn't needed. And I know it wasn't. So anyway, the unnecessary program I'd already said no to. None of them wrong, just out of rhythm. They weren't conscious decisions. They were side effects, echoes of a generator pushing past the sacred stoplight of frustration. Frustration is not failure, it's information. It's a red blinking light that says, pause here. Not this, not now. Something is misaligned. But I didn't pause. I spun. And in the aftermath, it wasn't regret. It was recognition. The energy drain, the need to reset, the subtle dissonance that in what I created. Because aesthetics carry energy, and energy doesn't lie. This is the generator's journey. To know that satisfaction doesn't come from pushing. It comes from waiting, from responding, from aligning. It's not about never feeling frustration. It's about honoring what it means. Letting it speak before you override it in action. Frustration means something's not quite right, not with you, but with the timing, tools, or tone. The next day, with clearer eyes, today, and steadier breath, I saw it all. I saw how my emotional wave had been bypassed, how I'd acted without a full yes, how my body tried to warn me with tension, hunger, and shortness, and how I can now choose differently. There's no shame here, only awareness, only grace. And from that place, I returned to the portal, not to finish the landing page, not to get it right, but to wait, to feel, to trust that when the resonance clicks, oh no, that's the power of a generator. We don't build by pushing, we build by responding, and that changes everything. And so one of the things that I discovered this morning also on my walk is that I'm changing it. It is no longer going to be a landing page. I'm just changing the concept, the name of what I'm calling it. And I'm calling it the invitation page. Because that shifted something deep within me, no longer having to have something feel so solid and so tangible. This is what I am about, inviting in and letting you choose, as opposed to trying to direct you to the place I want you to land. It's not painting, the landing strip. This is your only option. It's an invitation. You can land where you feel right. And maybe that's in my world and maybe it's not. And so there's no ending to this. I'm in the middle of this. I don't even know if I'm going to be done, but I'm going to keep making YouTube videos every day until I launch it. This is just something I'm doing for myself, for documenting. And maybe having you witness it means something. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But here you are, a generator. Navigating frustration, paying attention to where the satisfaction is, and using my 2 line to help me find that beauty that I respond to.